What do you think the inflation rate's been for the past 100 years? If you took a survey of everybody on the street and you asked them, what do they think inflation was? What is it? You remember when Jerome Powell said our target's 2%, but we're not there? Now, if you actually back calculate, you come to a conclusion that the inflation rate was approximately 6.5% a year, every year for 92 years. Okay, and there's nobody in government, no conventional economist that would ever admit to an inflation rate of 7% a year in the US dollar over the last century. If you dig deeper, I mean, one guy that's done a great job working on this is Seyfedin Amos, who wrote the book, The Bitcoin Standard. And he notes that on average, it looks like the inflation rate and the money supply is about 7% a year, all the way up to the year 2020.
Now, if we look at the data since year 2000, it looks like the CPI number has been up 88%. So if we take 88 divided by 25, that's 25 years, that's about 3.5% per year. And in the last video, we talked about how devastating a 3%. I mean, they say inflation is supposed to be 2%, but imagine a 3.5% inflation rate. Now, this is the CPI data that they are telling you on television. It's only 3.5% per year on average. Now, if we look at the true dollar devaluation, which means how much money printing that's happening in America, since year 2000, that has been up about 363%. Now, I know this number may seem a little extreme, so I'm gonna calculate it right here with you guys on TradingView. So this is the graph from the M2 money supply. This chart is the same chart as this chart that's on the Federal Reserve website. And just so you know that this is real, I'm gonna look at the numbers with you. So the money supply was about 4.6 trillion and then ended around 21 trillion in February 2025. So let's look at TradingView. So yep, January 2000, 4.6 trillion. And ended around 21.6 trillion. So it's the exact same chart. Now let's measure how much this chart has been growing for the past 25 years. January, right here, boom. Let me zoom out so I can drag this thing all the way. Let's see, we're gonna drag it all the way over here. Let me just make sure it's, yeah, okay, it's kind of accurate. So 368. What did that chart say? 363. Okay, roughly about the same. So now, if you take 363 divided by 25, 363 divided by 25, that's a 14.5% per year the past 25 years.
Then governments come about and they use their debt as money. And since then, the average over the last 60 years or so, between 1960 and 2020, for 60 years, the average fiat currency grew in supply at around 14% per year, or overall fiat currencies grew in supply at around 14% per year. So we went from 1.5% to 14%, about 10-fold increase in the supply growth rate. And 14% per year means that on average you lose half of the value that's stored in money over 5 years. So you lose half of the value of your money over 5 years. That's the average fiat experience. Of course, some currencies are better than the average, like the US dollar and euro. They only increase at around 7-8% per year. Some currencies are a lot worse. They increase at 20, 50, maybe 100 sometimes % per year. But on average, it's just continuously increasing in supply, so its value declines. And because its value declines, that incentivizes everybody to A, not save, and B, take on a lot of debt. And that's why everybody is in debt. And that's what Bitcoin fixes.
If this keeps going this way and you just leave your money in a bank losing 14.5% per year, hold on, let's see, 100K would lose about 80% of its value after 10 years if this keeps going the same rate that it's been going at.
If you had put $100,000 in this house, you would have 305x return over 92 years. But if you had put the money, $100,000 in a safe deposit box and buried it in the basement, you would have lost 99.7% of your wealth over the same time period. What we're doing is we're bleeding the civilization to death.
Let's be honest, Social Security is not gonna save you. The S&P 500 cannot outpace inflation. Your target date fund in your 401k is not gonna beat inflation. Real estate is barely keeping up with inflation. So if you're not making at least 15% per year, just consider yourself drowning.
A lot of people are struggling because they are getting paid in worthless pieces of paper. And so every year that passes on by, it seems like we're, as a society on fiat currency, we're digging a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger hole.
At this point, if you don't see that there is a problem, if you don't see the reason why you need to invest in Bitcoin, then I don't know, man. Oh well.